Welcome back to my YouTube. Today we are going to explore one of the most iconic and meaningful coins in American history, the Kennedy half-dollar. This coin is not simply a piece of currency. It is a living reminder of a turbulent period in U.S. history, a symbol of honor for a fallen president, and a treasured collectible that continues to captivate coin enthusiasts around the world. The Kennedy half-dollar is a coin that carries immense weight, not only in its metal composition but also in its emotional and cultural significance. To understand why this coin remains so popular after more than half a century, we need to explore its background, design, dimensions, auction history, and current market value, all of which reveal why this coin is one of the most collected U.S. coins of all time. The story of the Kennedy half-dollar begins in November 1963, when President John F. Kennedy was tragically assassinated in Dallas, Texas. The event shocked the world and left Americans grieving the sudden loss of a young and charismatic leader. Almost immediately after his death, the U.S. Mint and Treasury began discussing a way to honor Kennedy's legacy permanently. While memorials and tributes were appearing across the country, it was decided that Kennedy's image would replace Benjamin Franklin on the U.S. half-dollar. This decision was made quickly because Jacqueline Kennedy, the First Lady, preferred the half-dollar over the quarter, feeling it was more dignified and visible. The project was expedited, and within just a few weeks, Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint, along with assistant engraver Frank Gasparo, finalized the designs. Roberts created the portrait of Kennedy that would appear on the obverse, while Gasparo designed the heraldic eagle on the reverse. The Kennedy half-dollar was officially released in March 1964, and the public response was overwhelming. Millions of Americans lined up at banks across the country to acquire the coin, not for spending but for safekeeping. The initial mintage was enormous, with more than 273 million 1964 Kennedy half-dollars struck between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Despite this massive production, the coin disappeared from circulation almost immediately, as collectors and ordinary citizens hoarded them as keepsakes of President Kennedy. This hoarding phenomenon continues to this day, as Kennedy half-dollars are rarely seen in everyday transactions, even though the U.S. Mint continues to strike them for collectors. In terms of physical dimensions and specifications, the Kennedy half-dollar initially followed the same standards as its predecessor, the Franklin half-dollar. The coin measures 30.6 millimeters in diameter and weighs 12.5 grams. The 1964 issue was composed of 90% silver and 10% copper, which was a common standard for U.S. dimes, quarters, and half-dollars at that time. This composition gave the coin significant intrinsic value due to its precious metal content. After 1964, however, silver prices began to rise dramatically, making it expensive for the mint to continue producing circulating coins with high silver content. In response, from 1965 to 1970, the Kennedy half-dollar was produced in a reduced silver alloy of 40% silver and 60% copper, with the inner core primarily copper and the outer layers a silver-copper mix. This 40% silver half-dollar is unique in U.S. coinage history, as it was the only denomination to use this specific alloy. Finally, beginning in 1971, the U.S. Mint transitioned the coin to a standard copper-nickel clad composition, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core. This composition remains in use today for circulating Kennedy half-dollars. What makes the Kennedy half-dollar truly fascinating, however, are the incredible auction prices it has achieved over the years. Collectors are willing to pay astonishing sums for rare varieties, pristine examples, and unique minting errors. For example, the 1964 proof Kennedy half-dollar accented hair variety, so named because of additional hair details above Kennedy's ear, has become a legendary rarity. Only a limited number of these coins were struck before Jacqueline Kennedy herself requested that the design be softened, making the accented hair coin scarcer. Today, a high-grade example of this variety can fetch anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 depending on its condition. Even more impressive are the Special Mint Set, SMS, Kennedy half-dollars from 1964, which were struck with a unique finish. These coins are so rare that only a handful are known to exist, and when one appeared at auction, it shocked the numismatic world by selling for more than $100,000. This result cemented the Kennedy half-dollar's place among the most valuable modern U.S. coins. Beyond these headline-making rarities, other Kennedy half-dollars have also achieved notable results at auction. High-grade mint-state examples from the 1960s and 1970s, particularly those graded MS-67 or higher, often bring thousands of dollars because they are difficult to find without blemishes. Error coins, such as double die obverse, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet errors, have also commanded impressive prices. For example, Kennedy half-dollars mistakenly struck on quarter planchets or silver planchets intended for other denominations are highly sought after by error collectors. Some of these coins have sold for $10,000 or more depending on the uniqueness of the error. Internationally, the Kennedy half-dollar has enjoyed remarkable popularity as well. In Europe and Asia, collectors often seek out American coins as symbols of U.S. history, and the Kennedy half-dollar, with its strong emotional connection to President Kennedy, is especially prized. Auction houses in London, Hong Kong, and Tokyo have hosted sales featuring high-grade Kennedy half-dollars, with bidding competition pushing prices beyond U.S. expectations. This global interest demonstrates how the Kennedy half-dollar is more than just an American coin. It has become a worldwide collectible that represents both numismatic artistry and a pivotal moment in 20th century history. When we talk about current market value, the Kennedy half-dollar offers an incredibly diverse range of pricing that suits both beginner collectors and advanced numismatists. Circulated clad Kennedy half-dollars minted after 1971 typically trade for close to face value, as they lack silver content and are relatively common. However, uncirculated examples in pristine condition can sell for $3 to $10 each, depending on demand. The 40% silver Kennedy half-dollars from 1965 to 1970, however, carry intrinsic silver value. With about 0.1479 troy ounces of silver, these coins generally trade in the range of $4 to $8 depending on the current price of silver, though collectible premiums can push certain dates higher. The most desirable Kennedy half-dollar for bullion value is the 1964 issue, made of 90% silver and containing about 0.3617 troy ounces of silver. With silver prices fluctuating, the melt value alone can range from $10 to $15, but in collector condition, these coins often bring $20 to $200 or more, especially in uncirculated or proof states. Rare varieties, such as the accented hair or double dies, can easily surpass these ranges by thousands. This mix of affordability and high-end rarity makes the Kennedy half-dollar one of the most dynamic coins in the U.S. series. When we take a closer look at the Kennedy half-dollar, what immediately stands out are its unique features that make it unlike any other U.S. coin in circulation. Designed in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy, this coin was more than just a piece of currency. It was a national tribute. On the obverse, you'll see a detailed portrait of Kennedy, created by Gilroy Roberts, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. His profile faces left, with sharp lines that capture Kennedy's youthful confidence and leadership. Around the edge, the words "Liberty" are boldly inscribed, while beneath his chin, the national motto "In God We Trust" is clearly engraved. At the bottom, the year of mintage sits as a marker of history. The reverse side, designed by Frank Gasparo, features the presidential seal with the heraldic eagle clutching arrows and an olive branch. This bold design, filled with stars, radiates the sense of strength and unity Kennedy represented. Collectors also pay close attention to edge details. Some years have reeded edges with slight variances that can make certain coins more desirable. What makes these features especially unique is the way they evolved over time. The earliest 1964 versions were minted in 90% silver, which immediately placed them in high demand, while later years transitioned to 40% silver and eventually copper-nickel clad compositions. These metal shifts alone create major value distinctions for collectors today. Now, let's talk about rarity and collector demand, especially when coins are found in damaged or circulated condition. For most coins, heavy wear or scratches reduce their value, but with Kennedy half-dollars, demand can still remain strong depending on the year and mint mark. For example, a 1964 silver Kennedy half-dollar in heavily circulated condition will still fetch above its face value simply because of the silver content. Even damaged examples from certain years are scooped up by collectors or silver stackers. More modern copper-nickel issues, such as those from the 1970s and 1980s, may not bring in huge sums when damaged, but some rare mint-era coins, even with scratches, still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This shows how rarity can override condition in some cases. A great example is the 1970 D. Kennedy half-dollar, which was only released in mint sets. Even in lower grade or impaired conditions, these coins remain valuable due to scarcity. Collectors also look for double die errors, repunched mint marks, and proof strikes that were mishandled or improperly stored. Surprisingly, even with toning or discoloration, Kennedy has attracted strong demand, because collectors appreciate originality and the historical story behind the coin. The truth is, When you hold a Kennedy half-dollar, even if it's been pocket-worn for decades, you're holding a piece of American history that ties back to one of the most impactful moments of the 20th century. Next, let's move on to tips for collectors. If you're looking to build a collection of Kennedy half-dollars, the first thing to remember is that not all coins are equal in value. Silver issues from 1964 and 1965 to 1970 are the most sought after, so these should be top priorities. Even circulated examples hold intrinsic silver value, making them smart long-term investments. For collectors on a budget, starting with copper-nickel versions from the 1970s onward is a great way to get familiar with the series. Pay attention to mint marks. Coins from San Francisco, marked S, are often proofs and can be worth much more than their face value. Philadelphia coins, no mint mark before 1980, and Denver coins, D, also have varieties that collectors chase. Another important tip: always store your Kennedy halves in proper holders or albums, because environmental damage can drastically reduce their value. If you're hunting for the rarest pieces, watch out for errors like the 1964 accented hair variety, the 1970 D issue, or the 1998 S matte finish coin. Finally, keep an eye on the auction market. While many Kennedy half-dollars sell for modest amounts, certain rare dates and varieties have achieved auction prices in the tens of thousands of dollars. For instance, high-grade 1964 examples and rare proof errors have set records internationally, with strong bidding from collectors not only in the United States but also from Europe and Asia. That international demand is key, because it shows how Kennedy's legacy extends far beyond U.S. borders. His coinage carries symbolic weight around the world. And now, let's bring everything together with a conclusion. The Kennedy half-dollar is more than a coin. It's a story of a nation's grief, resilience, and admiration for one of its most beloved presidents. Its design, its silver content, its historical roots, and its ever-changing market value make it a fascinating series for collectors at every level. Whether you own a worn example from circulation, a pristine proof coin, or a rare variety that could set records at auction, each Kennedy half-dollar represents a bridge between the past and the present. And as the years go by, interest in this coin only continues to grow. So if you're a collector, my advice is clear. Pay close attention to this series, study its varieties, and look beyond condition when evaluating value. Even damaged coins can have strong demand when rarity is factored in. The Kennedy half-dollar has already proven itself as a timeless collectible, and its story is far from over. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of America's most iconic coins, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes on rare and valuable coins. Thanks for watching.